Welcome to PK BookSmarts, where we explore the hidden corners of the world, revealing the dark secrets that lurk beneath the surface. Tonight, we delve into the realm of childhood nostalgia and uncover the sinister truths behind a beloved icon, Chuck E. Cheese. Join us for a spine-tingling journey into the shadows of this family entertainment empire, where laughter turns to terror and the secrets of the past come back to haunt the present. Prepare yourself for a night of chilling revelations and unsettling encounters as we unveil the dark secrets of Chuck E. Cheese. It started as a curiosity. The small town of Florence, South Carolina, wasn't the kind of place where big secrets were kept, or so I thought. I'd been a journalist long enough to know when a story smelled wrong, and the one I stumbled on, about the rebranding of ShowBiz Pizza to Chuck E. Cheese, reeked of something deeper. A gut feeling drove me down the quiet streets, past peeling paint and shuttered windows, to the old abandoned ShowBiz Pizza building on the outskirts of town. I'd heard whispers, strange rumors about kids going missing back in the 80s, about employees quitting suddenly, about the animatronics behaving oddly, but nothing concrete. So when I pulled up to the building, I was just planning to write a puff piece about corporate branding and nostalgia. But the truth has a way of dragging you deeper than you ever intend to go. Inside, the air was stale. The scent of dust and neglect hung thick, and yet, beneath it, something else lingered, something metallic, like rust or blood. I brushed it off and started snapping pictures of the faded murals and disheveled arcade machines. ShowBiz Pizza, I muttered to myself, shaking my head. Why would they even bother with a rebrand in a place like this? A soft shuffle echoed from the back. I froze, camera mid-click, and listened. It was probably just the wind, I reasoned. Or rats. Nothing more sinister than an abandoned building falling apart. But the feeling that something was watching me crept over my skin like cold fingers. I could feel the air shift, an uneasy hum like the building itself was breathing. I forced myself to walk toward the sound. It came from behind a set of double doors, marked Staff Only. Pushing through, I found what must have been the employee lounge. Old, sagging couches, a rusted sink, and shelves lined with boxes of ShowBiz memorabilia. And then I saw it. A set of photographs scattered on a table, covered in dust. They weren't the kind of cheery promotional images you'd expect. They were taken from a distance, blurry and poorly framed, but unmistakable. Birthday parties, kids smiling and eating pizza, and something else. I squinted at one photo. There was a shadow in the corner, barely visible, hunched behind the animatronic band on the stage. But the more I stared at it, the more it seemed to take shape. Then came the voice. "You shouldn't be here." I whipped around. There, standing in the doorway, was an older man in a Chuck E. Cheese uniform. His name tag was too faded to read, but his eyes were sharp, bloodshot. He didn't look like he belonged there, as though he had been frozen in time along with the building. "Didn't mean to intrude," I stammered, holding up my press badge. "I'm just doing a story on the rebranding." "Rebranding?" He chuckled, dark and low. "Is that what they're calling it now?" His laugh set my nerves on edge. Something about the way he said rebranding sent a chill down my spine. I couldn't shake the feeling that he knew something no one was talking about. I tried to sound casual. "So why'd they do it? Why change from ShowBiz to Chuck E. Cheese?" His eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment, I could swear I saw fear flash across his face. "They didn't have a choice," he said softly. "There were accidents." "Accidents?" "Kids." He stepped closer, lowering his voice to a near whisper. "They went missing. No one wanted to admit it, but they did. And then, the blood." I froze. "Blood?" He motioned to the old photos. "Look closely. You'll see it." I flipped through the photographs again, this time slower. And then I saw it. Stains on the carpet, on the walls. Red smears I hadn't noticed before. But the worst was the last photo. A close-up of one of the animatronics, Billy Bob, the bear, with what looked like dried blood caked under its plastic claws. My stomach churned. "This can't be real." He laughed again, a hollow sound that echoed through the empty room. "Real enough. ShowBiz was more than a pizza place. It was a trap, They brought something into that building, something they couldn't control. I wanted to leave, to run, but I had to know. What happened? The man's face hardened. You really want to know? There was something in the machines. Not just wires and gears, but something else. The kids who disappeared. They didn't just vanish. They were taken by whatever lived inside those animatronics. That's impossible, I said, backing away. But my words rang hollow. Everything about this place screamed that something was terribly, terribly wrong. Chuck E. Cheese was the cover-up. They thought if they changed the name, people would forget. They thought they could start over. The lights flickered, and for a split second, I saw it. Movement, just behind the animatronics on the stage. A quick, violent twitch. My breath hitched. I need to get out of here, I muttered, turning toward the door. But the man blocked my way. You're not going anywhere, he said, his voice cold. Not yet. Before I could react, he lunged, shoving me back against the wall. My head smacked the brick hard, stars exploding in my vision. The smell of blood, my blood, filled the air. The man's hands gripped my neck, squeezing as he hissed in my ear. They're hungry, he rasped, his grip tightening. They need more. The room spun, my vision blurring. I could hear something behind him, a grinding noise, like metal on metal. The animatronics were moving, slowly, jerking unnaturally, their lifeless eyes glowing red in the dim light. Then came the scream, high-pitched, metallic, but unmistakably human. The man released me, stumbling backward, his face twisted in horror. No, not now. I gasped for air, clutching my throat, and that's when I saw it. The animatronics were coming to life. One of them, the bear, twisted its head toward us, its mouth opening wide. Inside wasn't machinery, it was flesh, rotting, decayed, but unmistakably human. Blood dripped from its maw. The man screamed, a guttural, terrified sound, but it was too late. The bear lunged, grabbing him with its clawed hands, dragging him toward the stage. His screams echoed through the building, mixing with the sickening sound of tearing flesh and breaking bones. I ran. I didn't look back. Outside, the sun was setting, casting long shadows over the parking lot. My heart pounded in my chest, my mind reeling. I fumbled for my phone, my hands shaking. But as I dialed, I glanced back at the building. In the window, Chuck E. Cheese stood watching me, his eyes glowing red. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. My hands fumbled with the keys, shaking uncontrollably, but I managed to unlock the door and slide inside. Slamming the door shut, I forced myself to breathe, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. The screams, the sounds of tearing flesh, the look in the man's eyes just before the bear dragged him to whatever hell waited behind that stage. I couldn't get it out of my head. And those machines, those animatronics. I had seen things tonight that should have been impossible. A bear with rotting flesh and blood-stained claws. Something that ate a man alive. No, this wasn't just corporate greed, a name change, or even a cover-up. It was something much darker. I glanced at my phone. The signal was weak, barely a single bar. I needed to call someone. The police, the press, anyone who could help. But my fingers hovered over the screen, reluctant. Who would believe me? A haunted Chuck E. Cheese with bloodthirsty animatronics? I'd be lucky if they didn't lock me up for saying it out loud. But I had to do something. I couldn't just drive away and forget about it. Forget about the way those animatronics had looked at me. Hungry, alive. I stared back at the building. The lights inside flickered faintly, casting eerie shadows against the darkened windows. Everything inside was still, quiet. Except for Chuck. He was standing at the glass door now, his plastic eyes locked onto mine, glowing a faint, unsettling red. He didn't move, but I could feel it. He was watching me. A buzzing sound vibrated through my phone, snapping me out of the trance. A message? Who the hell would text me now? My heart raced as I glanced at the screen. Unknown number. You shouldn't have come here. I froze. Another buzz. Unknown number. They know you're here, and they're not done. I looked around, my pulse quickening. The parking lot was empty, save for my car in the dark, looming shadow of the Chuck E. Cheese. There was no one around, at least no one I could see. The buzzing came again. This time, it wasn't a message. It was a call. The screen flashed the same unknown number. My stomach twisted. Every instinct screamed at me not to answer it. But I needed to know. I swiped the screen. "Hello?" A faint, static-filled voice whispered through the speaker. "You can't leave." "Who is this?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "Who the hell are you?" The voice crackled, a low, guttural laugh seeping through the static. "It's not over. It's never over." Then, suddenly, the voice cut out, replaced by another sound. Music. Soft, slow, and unnervingly familiar. It was the theme song. Chuck E. Cheese's theme song. The one I'd heard a million times at kids' parties, played by those damn animatronics. But this time, there were voices beneath the music. Faint, desperate whispers, crying out for help. Kids' voices. Distant, yet unmistakable. I dropped the phone, my heart hammering in my chest. Then, as if on cue, Chuck moved, just slightly. His head tilted to one side, his eyes still locked onto mine. And then he smiled, a slow, unnatural grin that stretched his plastic face in a way no machine should have been capable of. I threw the car into reverse, tires screeching as I sped out of the parking lot. My breath came in ragged gasps, my mind racing. I had to get away. I had to put distance between me and that place, between me and whatever was inside those machines. But as I tore down the empty highway, the headlights cutting through the darkness, something gnawed at the back of my mind. That voice, the way it said, "It's never over." I glanced at the rearview mirror. The road stretched endlessly behind me, pitch black except for the faint outline of the town miles back. Except as I looked closer, I could see something on the horizon. A figure, standing in the middle of the road. My blood ran cold as the figure grew clearer. It was tall, thin, with familiar rounded ears perched on its head. Chuck. But it wasn't Chuck E. Cheese anymore, not the fun-loving mascot from my childhood. This was something else, something much darker. Its grin spread wider, revealing rows of sharp, glistening teeth that gleamed in the headlights. The road in front of me stretched on forever, but the figure was getting closer. I slammed my foot on the gas, heart pounding in my chest, but as I looked again, the figure was gone. Had I imagined it? I forced myself to keep driving, the road blurring as panic seized me. But then, as the car sped down the highway, the music started again. Not from my phone this time, but from somewhere inside the car. That same, slow Chuck E. Cheese theme song, with the faint whispers of children just below the surface. I gripped the wheel tighter, but when I looked at the radio, it wasn't on. Then the static returned, the same voice from before, whispering through the speakers. "You can't escape." Suddenly, the engine sputtered. The car slowed to a crawl despite my foot slamming on the gas. "No, no, no," I muttered, eyes wide as the car came to a stop. I was alone, on an empty stretch of highway, in the middle of nowhere. And that's when I saw him again, standing just ahead, at the edge of the darkness. Chuck. I locked the doors, heart hammering, but I knew it wouldn't matter, because now he was coming closer. The shadows of Chuck E. Cheese still linger, their secrets forever etched into the annals of urban legends. Thank you for joining us on this haunting exploration. If you enjoyed this journey into the darkness, please show your support by liking and subscribing to PK BookSmarts on all social media platforms. Your likes, shares, and comments help us continue to bring you more captivating and spine-tingling stories. Stay tuned for our next adventure into the unknown, where the shadows hold sway and the secrets of the past refuse to stay buried.